It's preparing.
Damn it.
And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we have finally made it back on the airwaves again here at the Book Asylum podcast. If you could have only seen what I have seen for the past, 5 minutes now as we sorted this thing out, past host ownership around like it was just a used up old dirty slug of a hoe, whatever.
Dirty sock.
Yeah.
I'm tired already, and we're just now getting started.
Wait, how'd you know about that sock?
You don't want to know.
That sock knows where the button is.
Mm-hmm. Always.
And
wait, I'm sorry. This is Jack Shovel. I'll shut up.
Yep.
That's been the morning.
God, I love these guys, and sometimes I just want to throw shit at them. Anyway, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Book Asylum podcast. I am Jack Childress. These two knuckleheads over here are Dungeondan and Jennifer Tomato Potato Amato. Right over here is my man Killer Castro, and off from Puerto Rico, the one and only Angel Ramon. This week, we have some fun for you. We've got an author that's busting out some sci-fi, fantasy, just intrigue, awesomeness. The one and only Allen Cheesman, who, by the way, is co-writing this epic journey that we're going to be taking on. Dude, welcome back, man. What is going on with you?
Hey, thanks for having me out here. It's an honor. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the project that Nat Elleraz, my co-author, and I have been working on for about 5 years. It's going to be quite an epic series.
That is what is so crazy about it is 5 years. We hear authors talking about, trying to get 1, 2, 3, 4 books out in a year. And yet y'all have really poured the time into this thing.
Yes.
Well, I think it'll be 6 this year.
Yeah. January.
Yep.
Oh.
Angel's been with us since the beginning. When, go ahead. Go ahead, Angel.
Yep. I've been with you since the beginning. Yeah,
I'll give you the background. Save the question. So I'm retired Army, retired Federal Civil Service, 31 years total combined. So after writing all the military and government documents that I've done during that time period, I thought I could write. This is easy stuff, right? Little did I know, it's a culture of its own. You've got to know all these different terminologies, different ways to do this. And to tell you the truth, I'm still figuring it out. But Angel jumped in right away. I started meeting all these great, wonderful authors. He was the very first one, him and May Donnie, and who, by the way, created the cover for the book. But he jumped right in and has been a mentor, and interviewed me and guided me along the way. He's been encouraging me and kicking me in the butt the whole time. So,
yes.
Thanks for that.
Yep. I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to it.
So what happened was, go ahead.
I was going to say, so how early in the process of coming up with this concept, this idea, was it before you brought Inez in?
Just recently. So this concept came to me November of 2017. I was still deep into completing a history degree at University of Texas at San Antonio. And amongst all the other writing I had to do for history papers, I thought it'd be great to write a book. So I had this story concept come on, and I started doing the journey, stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning, just hammering out chapters. And I got to chapter 16, and I realized that I really don't have a structure to it. And then history papers, life got in the way, world building. Fast forward to 2022, I realized that the world that I built is so massive. I mean, think The Expanse, Star Wars, Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, the usual comparisons, all mixed together. But what I'm trying to write is something that's never been done before. I'm trying to avoid the usual storylines or the usual tropes or whatever. I'm using that term correctly. So I had the chance to bounce the concept off of a legendary author, David Brin. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. And surprisingly, he gave me a long dissertation, great analysis of everything I'm doing, comparing, to other authors like Larry Niven, Eric Flint, the late Eric Flint. Great feedback. But the world became so big and so daunting that, I needed help. I realized that. So a great friend of mine, Annette Elraz, who writes fantasy. This is her book. If you can see
Oh,
it.
that's a beautiful cover.
Yeah, it is.
It's really nice.
Epic fantasy, strong female character. She's the lead. I'll send you links for that later.
Sweet.
But,
And feel free to post those in the comments too.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
everybody
I
can
love
grab
fantasy.
she took a passion to it and started, providing beta reading feedback to it. And I was like, you know what? I need to bring her on because with her strengths of character development, which is really, really, really prominent in her book, and mixed with my world building and everything else, that's the thing with authors that co-write. There's always one that's better at something than the other, but together they're strong, and it makes for a much more compelling story, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Absolutely does.
I hope that answered your question.
It did. Y'all jump in.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I just want to say Lee Edwards says hi all. He's watching.
Oh,
Hey, Lee.
Hey, Lee, how you doing? What's up?
Lovely.
Sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It happens, Uh, okay, so I don't even know how to phrase the question, but the idea is simply I have no concept of how you would create an entire world before you could even start to tell the story that you wanted to tell. How do you do that? I mean, do you literally just have to sit down and think of every little aspect of this universe you're trying to create, or do you just create what you need to move your story along and then you'll get to more later?
Well, there's some more background to that. Since I really didn't know what I was doing, once I realized that, military and government writing does not equate to a fiction writer, I went out and I started looking at the usual, the great mentors, Chris Fox, Derek Murphy, who all these great, wonderful authors that share all their knowledge and sage wisdom. Jeff Vandermeer, I had a chance to get his science fiction, the great book of science fiction, writing guide. Terry Brooks, T.A. Barron, and then all the authors that I've met and befriended over the years, all kind of gave me different ways to jump into this. And so I started thinking of my concept. I started thinking of everything I needed, and I sat down for I think a week and a half and did nothing but punch out the world. I built, planet names. I built an entire army from the future, the Kelninian Defense Force, right? The KDF.
Well, that's a great name.
And so I went into, the typical world building, the culture, the society, the history, military. I built, I laid out the dimensions, for example, for this massive space strike station, the Perseus, and the 65 battle cruisers that are part of her fleet. I named all the different military staff members all the way down to where I think I needed names, down to the names of the leadership on battle cruisers, down to complete Marine battalions, Space Marine battalions. So I laid out all the names I needed, all the different weapons, all the different, drop ships, strike ships, everything that you would need to just pull from a toolbox as you're writing and plug it in. That makes sense.
So
Same
that would make
thing
you more of a plotter. Like you're plotting everything out versus say a pantster that's just making this stuff up as they go along. Like
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's ended. All right.
So I don't know if that answered your question, but
No,
even
it
then,
did.
as I'm writing and I'm working with Annette, and we chat. I mean, it's kind of challenging because she's in Israel, and so she's like 8 hours ahead. So usually every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock we meet. We'll chat constantly on Facebook Messenger and just talk about characters and talk about what ifs and talk about plot development. And the world just keeps getting bigger because there's just so much more that can be written into this. Even with the story that I'm writing now, we've already got enough laid out. I've been writing bits and pieces for second, third, fourth book on. And we've already laid out a concept for like through book 11, I think. So, but there's also going to be spinoffs. I don't want to give too much of the cookie away, if that makes sense, about the storyline.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question, though.
It does. Thank you. That's a lot of detail. I mean, you could literally sit down and write a whole civilization in real life. This is how our civilization will be.
Yes.
this is who our president is going to be. That's kind of scary.
Actually, I did that.
Did you do that?
Yep. There's a Hispanic president, Hector Gonzalez, and I laid out his entire cabinet all the way through the Department of Defense.
Wow.
Military
That's
commanders
impressive.
that,
Yeah.
like an
Yeah,
aircraft
he was
carrier.
sending me.
How long did that take? I mean,
5
never even
years.
mind the. Gosh, that's a lot.
That's a lot of
It's
detail.
extremely detailed though, and you can't forget it because it's written down.
Right. And then I remember Anna sent me I think you sent me a whole document of all your ideas. I remember that, Anna. You sent me a whole document of, the planning and all that.
Well, now, Anthony, you're doing something a lot like that right now with
Well,
Bad Wabbit.
I was going to say, I'm very impressed by Alan's detail because I'm just kind of pulling things out of my ass as I go. And it it kind of fits together. But at the same time, it's like I didn't sit down. I had an idea of what I wanted the world to be, and I had an idea of what the story was and what needed to happen in the story in that world. But I didn't go through and do like that kind of detail. That's very impressive. I'm like blown away. That's very awesome.
This is the perfect example of planning your story out versus my style of let me just get in the story and then I'll figure out how to explain that super awesome weapon later.
Yeah, it's like trying to fold a fitted sheet.
Yeah, I mean,
In there,
it's like my world's so big at the moment. It's like if I was to sit down and map it all out like he did, it would take another 3 years because it took me about 3 years just to get to this point. And that's just like I'm sitting here reeling like, wow, that's crazy.
It makes
Very
me wonder
impressed.
how the guys that wrote The Expanse, the two authors, James S.A. Corey is a pseudonym, but how they planned all that out because it's so intricate. So many details.
Well, I would imagine now that you've got everything planned out, the actual story should come easy.
That one would take.
You got the finger. You
Got
just
the finger. You would think that.
Hey, I'm retired now. It's not like I give the knife hand anymore. Military leaders use the knife hand. So the thing that's been a challenge for me in this past 5.5 year journey is knowing the process, how exactly to do this, because every author has a different way that they write. I looked through all the different videos. People have different ways that they use, like, the little notepads or sticky notes or Scrivener, which like rocket science to try to learn how to use that. And then other writing software. But knowing the actual structure is what was a challenge for me. I didn't really get a grip on it until recently. When somebody forced me to sit down and actually write out the outline. I sent a couple of you copies of that, the synopsis, the outline, the complete with all the different acts and everything else. I'd never done that before. It was new to me. In the military, if you're going to do a paper, you always look for what's been done before. You can always pull from the archives. You have to look and see, and you can cannibalize that and adapt it. Fit what is actually necessary right now. It's a cookie cutter.
Right.
I didn't have that. So it's a process that I'm building. And now that I've got that structure, I can take that and I can use that as a cookie cutter to just go in and just plot the other books real quick.
Yeah, that's definitely
It
true.
sounds very easy, but it sounds a lot like it's a lot of work any way you look at it.
Yeah.
What's been your experience with it?
I've never plotted. I'm like these guys. I
We shoot
write
from the
and let
hip.
the
I
write
right.
and let the story take me. But one thing I have noticed is that sometimes it is hard to keep specific details straight. So I don't know. I may have to turn into a plotter. At least try it with one book.
And
And I
I know
know
the part-time plotter.
Yeah,
Yep.
even half-assed.
Or at least be a hybrid of the two. Be a plotter, and then as you go, you pants your way through it. What I do.
That's kind of what I do. Like I'll find myself wandering around the warehouse, pushing the big old push broom, and I've got acres, it feels like, to sweep, and I'm just daydreaming, a scene in my head as I walk around. So when I do actually get home and get on the laptop, it's like I already have something to work with. It's like, that's what I was going to do.
I mean, I take notebooks with me and write down when I have ideas, because sometimes I'm not in front of my computer, but I write down my idea and then I expand on that. But I need to make sure that I have everything, the correct names of extras, correct? Like right now, Lee Edwards is in my book right now, along with my friend Sibel's husband, Chris.
Mhm.
Both of them are kind of side characters that have actually taken on a role that, I mean, they're gonna die, but I'm
Spoiler alert.
they asked for it literally. They were like, please kill me in your book. And I'm like, okay, weirdo. But I'm like, I have these two characters in there and they've taken on a whole nother life of, hey, the group is actually benefiting from these two idiots. And I hate to have to kill them off, but I do. So it's just, it's like, it was kind of like, I mean, not plotting kind of leaves it open to be able to go kind of off subject or off route, I guess. Because the way that my brain works is, if I'm structured, it has to stay there and I can't divert. So in order for me to be able to put in a couple of side stories, I have to do it this way. So I still do want to try the plotting though. I want to try, because I do have a science fiction book that is in the works. And I really believe that science fiction books don't work like zombie horror fiction.
No.
I think the sci-fi is gonna need more structure versus, the group, Stacy, Jana, and Aaron and Jason, they're all just tra-la-lying through trying to make it to wherever they're making it to. And, oh, here's a zombie, here's some bad guys, it's, I think the science fiction one is going to need to be, I have this, and this going on because I need to keep track, and I suck with science fiction. I love it, but I'm not smart. So I'm kind of an idiot and I will lose track very quickly. So I think that's what I'm going to try, the plotting. Like Alan does. I'm going to definitely try that, because
One thing I would advise when you do
Mhm.
that, I learn quickly, is when you're doing science fiction, I'm sure you've seen this in movies and books you read, is avoid trying to be precise. Avoid trying to use exact science, because someone's
Right.
always going to troubleshoot.
Yeah.
okay.
That's going to trip you up on reviews or on your social media. So, like for example, and it's not the same now, so I can reveal this part. In my story, it involves a lot of anomalies. It involves a lot of terraforming. It involves a lot of time, space-time rift type stuff. So at one point, I was going to have, California, Death Valley, 12,000 years ago, that was a huge forest. And a lot of it was underwater, but now it's not. So I was going to have that, but I started thinking, well, then I'm going to have someone saying, well, the pH balance of your water is off, so nobody can survive.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yes.
no, I'm not going to do that. So
Yeah,
Make
we
it
call
all
them
up.
Facebook scientists.
It's like those Trekkies that can tell you how the engine works on the Starship Enterprise. It's
Yeah.
like-
And
The
that's,
engine that doesn't exist.
exactly.
and that's what I'm trying to avoid, because this is a whole new idea, whole new concept, whole new world. And, kind of try, I want to have some theories, some scientific theories, and make sure that they're correct. But that's about
Right.
as specific as I want to get.
Yeah, you want to avoid the Facebook experts out there.
Yeah, hell, I'm writing about zombies, and I've already got a template to work from, and I'm writing about rats.
Good.
Pretty
Well,
simple.
with it, the way you plotted it out, I think that would also help keep the descriptive, the ability to keep all the description consistent, of each character and each environment and even vehicles, because like me, I have to keep the description of the environment very consistent because I do comic books. So if I do one panel here and there's a cup on the table and the next panel doesn't have that cup, everybody's gonna be like, what the hell happened to the cup, dude? It's like,
Continuity.
That
Yeah.
was
Bane of
like,
existence.
I'm ashamed to say I went to the movie theater and watched Meg 2 last night, and the one who never stays up past 5 minutes.
5-minute Jen.
I watched the whole thing. I caught a bunch of incongruencies, and I was just like, it just made it was a terrible, terrible, terrible movie. It was a terrible movie.
I watched it last night too. I agree.
Freaking horrible.
It was so over
the top.
Let's talk about the writing of Meg too. I mean, they
Steve
literally
Alton's
explained
amazing.
everything to you, you know.
Steve
What are
Alton
these Megs doing? They're mating. And it's like,
Yes.
but you didn't even give me time to figure that shit out on my own.
Exactly. Although I knew why the baby megalodon was acting weird. She has to grow up.
Hey,
And
wait,
at some
I haven't
point
seen
she's
it yet.
We'll say, yeah. Spoiler alert.
I read Steve Alton's books too. And I do not remember 3/4 of that stuff happening in the book.
Okay, so
No,
I have to
it's-
ask, did you watch Sharknado?
I love
Oh,
Sharknado.
fuck me.
I
Sharknado just
love
keeps coming up.
Sharknado.
I can't. And the thing is I came from the 90210 era. So Ian Ziering or whatever the hell his name is, the main character, just as cheesy as 90210, just as bad. And I used to love him, but apparently I've grown up and grown out from him and his acting abilities. Apparently his level of acting is Twilight 1 only. And let's be
Never
honest,
grew past it.
Twilight 1 was terrible. I love
Yeah.
the books, but Twilight 1 was terrible.
I can't do sharks at all. I'm the guy that went to see 42, what is it, meters or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh,
Where-
yeah.
Yeah, that
you
was
know,
a good
I
one.
rented it to watch it and I fast forwarded through all the shark scenes.
Oh,
You're
come on,
terrified
they're
of
the best.
Who goes out and gets
Come
a
on.
shark movie just to
Yeah,
skip the shark
That's
scene?
like
You
watching
know,
Jaws
that's what
and
I was like,
covering your
dude.
eyes.
Well, I almost got eaten by a shark a long time ago, and so
Oh,
ever
there
since
you
then,
go.
I've just had this thing where I don't want to be around sharks. Don't want to look at them. Don't want to see them.
Wait a minute. How do you almost get eaten? I've never heard of that. You either are or you aren't.
Well, he was on a dock and the shark was brought back by
There was a-
chains and
yeah,
he
there was
put
a
his
shark-
foot.
Shark 2 miles away. Oh shit.
Well, now I think the reason that he was watching 47 meters down was women in bikinis.
Ah, well,
Mandy
That's
go.
why
Moore.
he
Is
did
it
it.
Mandy,
Yeah, there
isn't
you
that the
go.
one that Mandy Moore is in?
I was
Mhm.
trying to learn how to surf, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah, sure.
Isn't that the one that Mandy Moore is in where they're stuck in a cage down at the bottom?
I don't
Yeah.
know. I wasn't looking at her face. I don't remember what she.
See?
Well, I was just going to say I would agree with you. She is very pretty.
Uh-oh.
Well, get
New
back to the
side to
science.
Jen.
Now,
Wait.
Alan,
Talking about, go ahead.
so I want to ask you, is the book going to come out? How's the progress of the book? What are you still looking at the same release day as you were planning earlier this year?
Well, the book is done, and we put it out
Okay.
on a platform called Beta Books. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
No, see, you're hiding stuff from us.
No,
Yep, I'll share the link with you. It costs like $25 a month, but it's a really great way to manage beta readers because typically, I was sending out a PDF here and there or whatever, and people get busy, and you really can't tell if they're reading it or not. And it's like Bueller, right? So in beta books, you can upload a chapter at a time or as much as you want, and you can send out an email invite to whoever wants to be a beta reader. And you can see when they log in, when they read, when they stopped reading, how far they are.
Ooh.
And at the end of each chapter, they can give you direct feedback as they're reading versus trying to send you a separate email. It's all right there.
Oh,
And then
That
That's
sounds kind of
interesting.
good.
kind, so you
It
can
does sound.
actually print that out and use it for when you're doing your edits and so on. So that's, the first draft is done. And it's sitting at almost 135,000 words.
Wow.
No, wow, that's huge.
So
Yeah, that's a decent
moly.
sized book right there.
the other thing is that we realized that there are so many apocalyptic events. There's so much going on. I'm trying to keep it as fast paced as I don't know if you've ever read Nicholas Sansbury Smith, great author.
Mhm.
His
Mhm.
Extinction Cycle. I mean, it's high octane reading. You can't stop for one scene because you just can't put it down.
Yeah,
So-
see, mine is Hell Divers. That's the one that
Yeah,
I'm running.
Hell
with.
divers too, So I've got that kind of a style that I want to emulate. And so, but I've got so much going on. I realized I've got this whole host of characters. Think like the movie 2012 or Armageddon.
yeah.
Mhm.
So now I've got to take it and focus it back down on a smaller group of characters. That was some of the feedback that we got, because I mean, you've got all this events going on. It's great, but I don't want it to be like that movie Moonfall, where you've got all this special effects and stuff going on without having memorable characters. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's what we're doing now, is going back and narrowing in, because you know the main characters are, there's two brothers. You know, one is in the Air Force. He flies F-22s on a quick reaction force. You guys see in the article in the news all the time where the Russians are always flying on the outskirts of our airspace, testing our response times. So that's what he does. And then his brother is in Delta Force. He's in a recon unit, Master Sergeant. And so it's gonna follow these two brothers as they get thrown into this apocalyptic event, which I'll explain here in a minute. And they've got to fight against a military force, a leader from the future.
Mhm.
And they've got to figure out how to stop her from trying to take over and dominate humanity.
Huh.
All of the attempts to survive that they're trying to do. So that's probably going to confuse you, but it'll make sense later on. But the way the book starts now is you've got a solar event. This is where we get back to the science.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys have read apocalyptic books where there's coronal mass ejections, solar flares that basically fry the satellites, take out the power grids, that kind
That
of stuff.
stuff happens now, but just not frying satellites. I mean, they just disrupt them, but
Right.
I know of the science. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So going back to my concept, what hit me was, what if there is, because I was reading some books that had that kind of thing. What if you had a massive solar flare, coronal mass ejection that is Earth facing, and it's like 100 times worse than the Carrington events? You guys are familiar with that back in the 1800s.
Mhm.
Fried telegraph lines, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but what two planets are closest than the Earth?
Mercury and Mars.
Mercury
Mercury
and
and Venus.
Venus.
Venus,
Oh.
Mercury, and Venus,
doesn't look
and
good for those two planets, you know. Spoiler alert. So, and then if that kind of solar plasma hits the Earth, what's it going to do when the magnetic belt gives way? They can't withstand.
Oh, it's gonna be nasty.
Those are the theories of what happened to Mars. They think that Mars was hit with one, and it just vaporized, just burned away the atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's why it's barren the way it is. What if that happened to Earth? But what if when that was coming, what if all of a sudden there was a Earth-sized energy sphere that came into being that deflected that solar flare? Nobody knows where the hell it came from, but it saves the Earth.
Huh.
It's the aliens.
But the
Hmm.
kinetic energy from it
See,
pushes it
there's
into the Earth.
that's the hook. I'm already in.
3/4
Yep.
the way around the planet, but doesn't burn the planet.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
by the way,
definitely in.
There's an energy sphere by Mars. There's an energy sphere by the rest of the planets in the solar system.
Yeah, but I thought they were dead. So,
Huh?
so what difference does that make?
Yeah.
So,
oh, boom.
So-
I'm sold. I'm there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sold now too.
Yeah.
I've been sold for 5 years.
Yeah, no shit.
so the one that wraps around the Earth only goes 3/4 of the way because the impact with the solar flare damaged the sphere. Damages what it's programmed to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
And so with it, I'm recreating planets now, which means I have to come up with new land masses, new waterways. I have to come up with new ecosystems, new plant life, new animal life. I can come up with whatever predators that I want. I don't have to worry about the science anymore.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
so you can see where all the world building comes in now, right?
Yep.
Yep.
mhm.
I'm only focusing on the Earth. I've still got.
Wow.
I'm not gonna release spoiler for what's gonna happen with the other 4 planets, but it's gonna be epic. So
Dude.
so
Wow.
many
Adam.
different other alien races involved in this thing. I had to go out and create all their background too.
Alan, I was going to ask you. What you're describing is similar to a video game I used to play. I don't know if you're into Sid Meier's Civilization. and he released a spinoff called Alfie Centauri, where you have to terraform and build a colony on a new planet.
Right.
I kind of getting those vibes. It's like a futuristic it's like civilization, but in the future.
I hear you, but there's still surviving humanity in that area that wasn't hit. So now these forces, the United States primarily and Canada, are the dominant forces in the hemisphere. Everybody else is gone. Don't have to worry about Russia, China, all the other global threats, right? And oh, by the way, the energy sphere, the perimeter where it stops is on the west coast of the United States. And then all of Europe and all of Africa, right? So everything in between there is what's still there. And then you have, with all the satellites gone, who's communicating? How can you communicate with your military forces?
Well, and how do you deal with like the other part of the Earth being just wrecked? You know, I mean, just like orbit and it's spinning the right way and everything's still functioning the right way.
By the way, what about the people in the International Space Station? Who has a
Right?
front row seat?
Yeah, that too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my
You're gonna
God,
love
dude.
the ride that they have.
You
So-
are brilliant and insane at the same time.
Yep, that's what I was
Now,
saying.
let me give you another, because I told you I keep doing things that just haven't been done before. So if this thing's putting out that kind of energy, it also opens up a space-time rift right above the Earth. And so 600 years in the future, there's this massive space strike station from the Calninian Defense Force. And why is it called Calninia? Oh, that's another secret. It's because it's the Earth, right?
Sounds like
anyway,
Carolina. Sounds like
this
Carolina.
space
to me.
station and its 65 battle cruisers who are in dock get sucked in and pulled back in time right above the Earth at the exact same time that this energy sphere is wrapped around the Earth. And they got
My
no
brain hurts.
So
This
now,
is-
what do you do? Do you think that, oh, my being here is interfering with the timeline?
It
Do I
sounds
need-
like book 2.
Yeah. So, and then I'll give this spoiler. I won't tell you what happens with it, but what happens when you have submarines that are so far under the ocean that they escape the energy sphere? In this case, say it's a Russian nuclear Typhoon class type submarine.
Oh, so they go into like
Missiles.
destroyed land and what
So-
the hell?
If you're familiar with it, but Russian doctrine is that if you have a sub that surfaces and can't contact the motherland, they're supposed to assume the worst and launch their payload.
Mhm.
Wow.
Wow, you got a lot of
So,
problems
plot
popping
twists.
up.
lot of stuff. Oh my
Yeah, a lot
gosh.
of stuff.
That
Oh,
book's going to
well,
keep me up
This
at
is
night.
just the beginning.
Yes.
I wanted to create so much, so there's infinite creative possibilities. So the
Do
story.
you guys have a
continues.
plan for a certain number of books?
Yes, 8 to 12 right now, plus spinoffs,
Holy
plus
crap.
spinoffs. So let me
Write
tell you about
me
Calninian.
into one of them. Write me
This
into
is-
one of them because it'll make Dan crazy.
This
I'm
is
doing
gonna
that
take
too. I put out a Facebook post a while back to all my friends who wanted to be in the book. So a lot of my former soldiers want to be in it. So one of the main
That's cute.
characters, Mark McLeod, one of my former soldiers. Sandy Fosdick, you guys know her?
I know the name.
She's an avid reader. She loves indie authors. So I made her a main character as well. She's one of the lead scientists. So we have a strong female lead.
Nice.
I like that.
Oh,
Of
you can
course.
make me a like a goat farmer.
He loves his
Never
goats.
far from the goat.
I
He
actually
loves
made
his
you a
guts.
scientist in my series, Jack.
There will be a couple airlock scenes. You can volunteer for that if you want.
Well, it
Jack
seems
has
to
a
me,
bunch of woes. Jack
seems
has
to
been
me
in a
that
bunch-
we are
bunch of
talking
books
to
already.
the upcoming New York Times best-selling author.
I
here.
swear.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
This whole
Absolutely.
series is gonna take over my life. This is
Yeah.
this is awesome.
dude.
Well,
Yes.
There's more to it. So
Well, like I said,
this is
when
really
I-
gonna piss off the religious community, because
Excellent.
I want to dispel the myth about how humanity really came to existence.
Well, man, I'm going to tell you straight up. You got me hooked when I first met you when we were doing the Angelus Maximus podcast, and I knew right then it's like I've got to get you on the other podcasts. Like, so we got to get you out there. People need to see you
Mhm.
because,
Yes.
dude, you have got something going on right here that's going to be literally an epic tale. Just
Yeah.
Thanks. Well,
Yeah,
me think
and
this is
you
for you.
you have no idea
Chaldeans.
how happy I am to finally see this thing come to life. You have no idea how happy I am for you.
You're definitely going to get a ticket to the red carpet, right? So, asteroid belt. Here's some more science for you. Where did the asteroids come from between Mars and Jupiter?
blown up planets.
Calnina, the original Calnina. I got a video. I actually experimented with book trailers.
Okay.
2018. I made one back in. I shared it with Jack back in 2018. I made one. It was like 4.5 minutes long before I realized that book trailers are only supposed to be 30 seconds. I used it more of a storyboard, and I created a second one after that, where I told the story, the history of Calnina, this advanced civilization that existed 205,000 years ago. And so I can share it because the video's been out there. So you have this Calnina defense fleet, battle cruisers in orbit. Some are coming back for patrol, etc. And they have another alien species that shows up in their ship. They're explorers. And you have a young officer on a KDF ship, battle cruiser, that misinterprets the intentions and fires upon this Ugarian ship. That's the other one, Ugarian. And so the Ugarians have advanced weaponry. So they didn't waste time. They fired a missile at the planet that hits the northern pole and obliterates Calnina. That creates your asteroid field. Now,
Wow.
a couple of the battle cruisers, one stays in place to warn other KDF ships coming back from long patrol. So they stay amongst the asteroids and hide. Two of them have their FTLs damaged, and they fly towards the third rock from the sun, and which is still primitive. And oh, by the way, Calnina is an imperialistic society, much like the Roman Empire. We talked about this, Angel.
Yep.
So Earth
Yes.
was used as a penal colony for Calnina.
Huh.
So
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. Have you
already
seen
have
Humanity?
humans on the Earth.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is another story, all these spin-offs. So when these two battle cruisers land on the Earth, they've got to try to hide their ships and try to avoid these convicts. And then you're going to have all these different factions trying to get to the tech so they can get off the planet. They're going to have other wars there. That's other stories to be written.
That's cool.
So
Wow.
now humanity didn't come from evolution. Humanity didn't come from a
The divine creator.
Humanity came from a civilization that was, their planet was destroyed. And oh, by the way, there were convicts on the planet. And it
Much
was
like Australia.
I was
I
just
was
going
gonna
to
say,
say.
I was gonna say Australia. What the hell?
strongest survives.
Yep. Well, DJ Cooper just chirped in and said hi to everybody. So hi,
Hi,
DJ.
Hey, D.
Hey, DJ.
Hey, how
But-
about that, Dan? You're actually in person and she still showed up.
It's weird. I don't know. I'm around. She just
And-
disappears.
And I'm here as well. So
Yep,
let's not
yeah,
forget.
that is it,
Still
We're
not
not-
convinced you're the
We're
real
not the
Jen.
same person.
It's the ultimate bizarro world. But we're talking about world building, and I got to be honest with you, man. That's something that me and Angel talk video games a lot. Like the old Sim Cities, games like that, where you actually
Yeah.
build your own little place. And that's why I love the King Mino series so much. Is like him building each little place and having Rusa bring everything back to life and make a full community again, and do all that. And the scale that you're doing this at is, dude,
Exhausting.
it's mind-boggling. It's that too.
You guys familiar with Randy Ellison?
No,
Nope.
Not really.
He's
we'll
another
have him
great
on the show
fantasy author.
eventually.
Randy actually has a school on world building and has published several books. This is one, if you can see it.
Yeah, creating life.
Yeah, I see it. Yes.
Nice. Okay.
Very
So
detailed. He's got one here, creating places.
okay, and this is
Oh, I gotta write this down.
I'll say now, this is all about helping you learn how to create
Cultures.
universes.
Yes.
Wow.
Because when you're creating, just I got this alien race. I got the I got the Ugarians. Okay, well, who are they? What's their history? What's their society? You know, what's their military like? What's their economy like? What's their religious,
Beliefs.
beliefs? You
Yeah.
know, all the different things you would need for that society. Because if you're going to introduce them, you're not just going to say that I got this ship that's attacking and all this. Well, what's the background? What are they all about? Because you're going to have to show that perspective. Sooner or later, you're going to have to write that scene from their bridge, show what they're thinking. You know, I've got the Voracians, I've got the Denians, I've got a whole host of other different alien races that we'll see in this. You know, eventually, it's going to lead up to a massive war. I'll just put it that way.
Well, since Dan hasn't thought to ask it yet, I'll throw myself out there on the sword and ask it. Of all the races of aliens you've created, which one in your mind is the sexiest?
And which one runs Pornhub?
Jack always coming out with the fast firing questions.
I would say the
Important
Denians.
questions.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it that.
You know, there's more too. You see, I'm trying to keep doing more here. So, what happens when you have this advanced human species, the Kelnians, that come back 600 years, and all this is going on in the planets? You've got all this massive energy output beyond what a star would normally put out. What kind of attention do you think that's going to get?
Oh, that's going to get some attention.
Think like First Contact when the Vulcans detected the warp signature, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're going to have all these other curious species coming to see what's going on, and they're not going to play well in the sandbox together, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they're
humanity
not all
is
friendly
trying to survive
with each other.
a bit, and they're thrown into the mix of this. So yeah, but where I'm going with this, imagine if some of the ones that come to explore say, you know what, I'll be back, and what if they launch probes to Earth and Mars that later become gateways, wormholes?
Oh, you basically created an interstellar interstate.
So
It's
like
it's the bizarre, like you could just
whatever's under
travel.
the ice in Antarctica.
So now guess what I get to do? I get to say, who and what am I going to bring through these portals and introduce to Earth?
Yep. Like I say, it's like you have interstellar interstates. You can
That is really
They can
cool.
just travel back and
Yeah.
forth like with ease. Like it's no big deal. And then you can, have you thought about merging? Which I mean is a nice way of being perverted and saying like have like a couple races maybe hook up and create a
That's
hybrid. of
probably
some
like
sort.
book 20.
Okay. I'll be waiting on that one. I
He's-
need a signed copy there.
He's impatiently waiting.
Yes, Jack is impatient indeed.
So
Yeah.
I'm giving you bits and pieces. It's probably confusing, but trust me, the story is laid out and it's so chronological. The way I sent a couple of you sample copies of it.
Yeah.
See, each chapter starts out with a date, time, location, exactly where they're at, down to the minute. And it's chronologically written exactly what's happening. The way it is right now, everything that I'm telling you is happening within 72 to 84 hours.
Wow.
That quick. So imagine if you're trying to terraform the Earth, imagine what's going to happen with the Earth when it's shaking and trying to evolve. Imagine what's happening in metropolises.
Holy crap.
Skyscrapers
Buildings crumbling, things
Buildings are
falling
on
down,
fire.
people freaking
this
out.
riots.
Yeah, I'm telling
Logistics
you,
breakdowns.
I am so excited for this book.
I'm telling you, it's giving me
Yeah, me
civilization
too.
vibes.
I've never, I mean, usually don't get this excited for books until I've like read the first one. Then I'm like, yeah, give me them all. But me, I'm like, I'd like to put in for the 20 pack, please.
Yeah.
That's something that
Just-
that Angel really likes. You know, I've got on the Atlantic Ocean, there's an aircraft carrier expeditionary group that's set out there to try to make, contact with the UK and with NATO because they can't communicate with anybody. And
Mhm.
so as they're going across the ocean, they're encountering, because of all this energy, time anomalies that are just popping up everywhere. And so imagine when you have this aircraft carrier group with, missile destroyers. And all of a sudden you have a time anomaly happen. And this destroyer winds up in the midst of the Spanish Armada.
Mhm.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And it was talking about this. Yes.
And then later on, you have, when they finally get to the English Channel, and you have, Marine recon elements that are launching in, their LAVs, light armored vehicles, which have 25 millimeter Bushmaster cannons on them. And so you've got one going to the UK, and you've got one going over to Netherlands to go to Brussels, right? And for the UK, imagine, if you will, you're in these 4 vehicles in this platoon. You're coming up on the ridge line, and you stop because there's this anomaly that's appearing in front of you. And when it dissipates, the energy cloud, there's an encampment of Romans there, Roman legion.
Oh, no. I see why Angel's happy here.
Yeah.
And you've got, there's always a lieutenant who really doesn't have that kind of experience, right? So you got a lieutenant that gets out of his thick armored vehicle and wants to stand there on the hill on the ridgeline, silhouetted with his binoculars, and say, "What is that?" Right? And so all those nice little toys that they have, they're ballistic weapons, right? They're stingers, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So, yeah. So imagine Roman legion battling Marines with light armored vehicles.
Yeah.
On the other side, contrary to that, you have Marines that encounter a Nazi patrol.
I mean,
They're early tanks with the 20 millimeter cannons.
Yep.
Armor battle. But the thing about these anomalies are they don't last. They're
so
there
do they
as long as
get
the
to go
battle, and then
home?
usually they just disappear. Whatever's caught in them, guess what?
Goes with them.
And whatever's outside of that, it's left behind.
Wow.
Yep. I'm telling you, this is gonna be civilization vibes. big
I
time.
am
This is-
really excited.
This is going to be
You put in so much
insane.
thought to this
Yeah.
that you have to
can't wait
have
for the
somewhere in the
video
back
game
of your
to
mind.
release.
You have to see. You must have already formulated what all of these. Let's say it comes out to be 50 books, to the point that it all comes to the end. Have you thought that far? Because
Yes.
right now I'm thinking all of this craziness and madness is going to come to book 50, where we learn that this is where Taco Tuesday became a reality.
The important questions in life, damn it.
Yes.
Damn right.
Yeah.
But I want to keep it to the point where typically in a story arc, you've got the inciting action, it goes up, and people go through ups and downs, and they finally get to the end, and the guy gets the girl, or they win the battle, or whatever else. I don't want to use that story arc. I want to elevate it where you start out at the top. You're in deep shit, right? And you stay there. You don't have the lulls where you go back down and everybody just relax and sing kumbaya. No, it's something else is coming. So it's a roller coaster, and there's going to be a lot of WTF moments.
Nice.
I like them WTF moments. I am a fan of the WTF
I want to
moments.
avoid being predictable, where you can go through, or you're watching a show or reading a book, and I bet this is going to happen.
Well, now, have you had people that you have bounced ideas off of as you've done this, as far as it relates to I don't know, I don't need you to see what I'm about to do right here, and test it on somebody to see if they can guess what you're about to do?
Nope, haven't done that.
Okay. I just want, because see, I got I guess novella length at most. Story
I've
idea.
in the beta books, I've had a lot of people go through it. I've got pages. One of my great friends, William Essex, he's a author, editor, and publisher. He lives in the UK. He has his own publishing imprint, Climbing Tree Books, and he provided, I think, 5 pages of feedback. Great stuff that we need to. Part of the reason we're going through and doing some restructuring, looking more down at the character levels.
Yeah, because it always seems like that's a hard thing to do, is to not give it away without realizing you gave it away. Trying to get it to where you keep the secret while still making it where if I go back and I reread earlier passages, I'm going, son of a, it was right there.
Breakfast sausage.
Kind of like Doctor Who. 4 seasons later, something comes into play. You're like, why didn't I see that 4 years ago?
Exactly.
It was right in front of me.
Those are the best.
Those are the
Mind
best science
boggles.
fiction
I
stories.
really appreciate mind boggles like that, where it's like, oh crap, why didn't I?
On a marketing level, this is brilliant, because you have to start right away. You have to get into this so that you're not the poor asshole
Yeah.
that somebody's saying,
Left
have you
in the
read this
lurch.
book? And you have to, it's an hour-long conversation just to make you understand how cool book 4 is.
The good thing is I've got a great, incredibly talented friend who did the first working cover for the book. I've sent it to a couple of people. I'll share it as well.
Sweet.
I also thought, hey, I need to have a writing logo too. So this is what she came up with.
Ah, cool.
I love it. I like
That
that.
is seriously cool, man. That would look really
Oh,
good
yeah,
on
I've
this.
seen it. Yes.
And when do we order our mugs like that?
I was gonna say that would look really good right over here, amongst
So,
all of this.
If you look at the emblem in the middle, right, I pulled that from the service flag, the military service flag that I created for the California Defense Force.
Oh, nice.
That's emblem. So that way it's continuity of messaging. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So,
Dude.
and then
I like the ship because it's kind of
different prototypes now. So this one has the book cover.
Wow.
Yeah, that one is banging. Yeah, I love that one.
You just made Angel break out banging.
Yeah, it's banging.
That
Oh.
looks good.
I'm very
man.
Probably
excited
wondering
about
why is the
this.
guy wearing a mask? I need it.
because he's a Bane character fan.
Well, I mean, I'll give this part away because there's just so much that goes on. This energy cloud that didn't wrap fully around the Earth is damaged. So, I mean, its primary purpose is to redo the planet. We don't know why yet. We won't find that out to about third or fourth book, and who's behind it, and what their dubious plan is. But at the points where it didn't fully come around, how is it affecting the environment there, the ecosystem, plants, the animals, humans? What's it doing? And what's it doing to the atmosphere that is now being pushed over the other parts of the surviving part of the nations that weren't affected? So again, it's my sandbox. I can be as creative as I want, I don't
You
have to
are
have zombies in it. I
Wow.
don't have to have variants like Nicholas Ansbury Smith has in his, but I can create whatever I want, come up with a new term.
Well,
Here's
here's a really crazy concept for a character. You got all these times, interacting. What would it be like if you had a Spartan warrior? They were the greatest warriors in history with modern technology in his hands.
Well, that brings an interesting point because, when the dust cloud settles, you've got this newly formed Earth with all these different land masses, different waterways, different plants and animals, and everything else. It's a new world. That's why you have that title. They used the world A New Beginning. So now somebody has to go out and explore and reclaim all that land. So that was another thing I struggled with is, well, what do I name these places? Do I stick with the original names? Is Paris still there, or do I come up with something new?
Well, everybody's going to have to wait and get the book to find that out.
That's
So,
right.
because we are literally 2 minutes from noon. So we
Oh, we are.
we're at the end.
Smoke. I was
It went way by
hypnotized.
too fast.
I will
fast.
come back and I will go in the
That's not
comments and
bad.
I will put links to videos I made
Yes,
and
please.
to all the social media.
Absolutely do that, because man, I swear I was hypnotized. Because usually I'm on top of this, or
I know normally we all are, and I was just like, oh crap, it's already almost noon. So
Yeah.
It's taken 5 years to get to this point, right?
Well, hey, now
Right,
granted,
exactly.
granted, we were running 5 minutes late, so bonus time.
I'll take it.
I'll take
But
it.
we still have to do the normal thing that we do every single week, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna make our way around the room, and we're gonna start off this week with Anthony Castro, my brother,
Mhm.
my bad Webbit. Where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me at dmwcomics.com, and you can find me on Facebook under DMW Comics. I just put up the digital copy for Bad Wabbit on my website, so you guys can go there for $8 and get the digital copy.
Get it.
We are doing big things in October, guys. Keep an eye out. Me and Chris Philbrook are going to be doing a signing down here in Texas on October 7th and 8th. So keep your eyes open. There's going to be big things coming from DMW Comics, man.
Nice.
And by the way, that poster looks good over your shoulder over there.
Yeah, I like
That thing is
So
pretty.
It's
Yay.
nice.
All right. Jen, Amato, Potato, Tomato, Amato. Where
Yep.
can everybody find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Jen Amato Author. You can find me on the web, jenamatoauthor.net. You can find me on Instagram, Jen Amato Author. I'm still working on book 3, chugging along. I'm about 35,000 words in. So
Awesome.
Nice.
Nice.
yes,
Okay, here we-
which I usually don't go over 50,000 words. So it's coming down to the wire. This one might be a little bit thicker, just because of all the stuff that's happening. But then I have one more book left in the group series. So the last one will be Jason, and that's when everything falls apart.
Go figure. Jason Aston
Yep.
gets involved and everything
Jason.
falls apart.
Yep,
Fucks
Jason
it all up for the
Aston.
rest of us.
He definitely has his work cut out for him. And then Jack Childress will be taking over the group series.
Mm,
He's going to have his own little series going on with the group as an extension. I'm excited for that.
theme of the day.
Oh, my.
Spoiler alert. I was actually currently working on it before we got here on the show here today. All right, Angel Ramon, my man. Oh, by the way, Angel, I would like you to see that right there. It's been behind my big fat head through the whole show, but that would be Pina
Yes.
Coladas and Rats hanging on the wall.
Yeah,
my
and
brother.
Jennifer got her copy.
Yep.
And it's exciting. Got some exciting news for you guys. But before I get to that, you can find me on Amazon Angel Ramon for my horror, which I am making big strides to come back in the horror genre, as you can see. And
Yep.
for Antis Maximus, you can also find books such as this sexy little beast.
Nice.
And you can find me on these years of Antis Maximus, where I post historical stuff. And you can find me on the Written Undead group, the Book Asylum podcast with these wonderful people, and Sign with Fear. So book 2 is coming very, very soon. And and there you go, the bookmarks. These will be going out this week. Yeah, Jennifer, you were getting one as well. And
Yay.
and yeah, so you can still get book 1 you can still get book 2 for 99 cents. So we go out and pre-order that right now. And paperbacks are coming by the beginning of September. I should have the paperbacks ready to go.
Fan freaking
Nice.
tastic. Dungeon Dan, how are things going over there with you and your writing world?
Going good. Working on book 2 of well, some of y'all are beta reading book 1 right now.
Yes.
Seems like everybody's enjoying it. That's a nice
Yep.
thing.
Yes.
There are some things to go fix.
Well, of course.
The red
Nobody
Wings
writes
saw them.
everything perfect the first time.
Exactly.
Oh no, I might be okay. No, I'm
Oh,
kidding.
calm down.
Yeah,
No,
right.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
You're not getting
Nah,
away with that, Jack. I'll
I
call you
used to
out.
get some virgin that's to give a good advice and all that stuff.
No, I think I created the word staccato when I first started writing there. So what the hell is this? But
I'm trying.
anywho,
Anybody else
so-
put that together?
It's stuck
Staccato?
in Italian. I don't know.
what? It's
Jack.
a Richard.
Who the
It's
fuck
a
knows?
no. It's what Richard said. He called my writing staccato. He's the one that said it. Not
I
me.
mean, I thought that was stuff that they put on the side of your housing.
That's what
Well,
I thought.
That's stucco.
Stucco. That's spackle or something. You know. Anyway, we're trying to end the damn show here, guys. Come on, shit. All right. Well, that's a hell of a way to intro you, but hey, Mr. Chessman, tell everybody where they can find you, keep up with what's going on with this unbelievable project, and we will thankfully release you from our grasp.
Thanks first for having me on here. It's been great. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to talk about everything, but there's a lot more behind the scenes, trust me. So you can find me on Twitter, or now X, at Allen V. Cheesman. You can see the spelling on the screen there. It's Allen V. Cheesman. I'm also on Instagram as the same. You can find me as the same on Facebook as well. I'll come back in the comments and I'll post all these different links I'll put the links to
Yes,
the
please.
videos that I made. And remember, the first one's like 4.5 minutes long, so it's a storyboard, but it's evolved significantly since then. I'll share that as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions without giving the whole cookie away. Hopefully, I haven't done it today.
No, you have not. What you have done is basically shoved crack in our faces, had us
Yeah,
smoke it,
And
and
now we're all
hooked.
jonesing.
We basically saw 5
now I'm
years
gonna-
of crack.
I'm
In
going
a
to do
matter
to you
of
what I did
hours.
to Richard Ryan Rose.
Now,
Hurry
I would
up,
be
finish
remiss
the thing.
if I didn't also say you need to look up Annette's book, and I'll post a link to that too. She's on Amazon. Annette Elrod.
Fantastic.
This is
Yes,
a book
please.
that you will love. It's like I said, a strong female-led character. It's a concept that I've never read before, and she's still trying to work on the second book for it. It needs to be continued, but it's a phenomenal book.
I'm
great
actually going to need to get my hands on that one because that cover looks so good. It would look so good up there. It's got to wind up there.
She
At
gave
some
me
point.
a couple extra copies. I'm sure I'll check with her. Sure, I can send you one.
Ooh, sweet. All about it. All about it. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to this menagerie of lunacy that is the Book Asylum podcast. I hope you guys not only got entertained today, but dude, if you didn't learn something today as a
Yeah.
writer, like ways to think about what you're doing, ways to maybe tweak your style a little bit, not completely change, but maybe work some of this storyboarding out, kind of figure out how you can think things through a little bit, and probably
Mhm.
make it a lot easier on you. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to my team. Thank you to Allen Cheesman. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, we are out.
Toodles.
Jen, take us